Hello and welcome to the class. The topic for today's class is effective communication in a classroom situation under the subject pedagogy of a school subject history. And the learning objective for today's class is to find out understand the meaning of communication, its concept, the types of communication, how the communication process works, what are the elements of communication, what are the various principles of communication which need to be followed in a classroom, and what are the barriers which can be done away with if any occur in our classroom situation. So communication within the classroom is important in order for students to learn effectively and should be put in place from an early stage of learning. So in classroom, basically communication exists in three categories: verbal, non-verbal, and written. So first of all, we will take a look at the origin of the word communication, and it has been derived from the Latin word communis, which means common. Hence, communication is having common experiences with other people. You're talking in some language and the other person is not able to understand it, so that means there is a miscommunication, that is not a communication. So there should be something common between the two persons who are interacting so that they can understand what they are going to uh, interact with each other. So communication means transfer of ideas, opinions, feelings, facts, etc. from one person to another. Communication can be defined as the process through which two or more persons come to exchange ideas and understanding among themselves. Communication is just about sending and receiving information or the transmission of information and meaning from one party to another. So this is very important. The information which is being transmitted need to be understood by the other party. And then the other party will again send back the communication, and the first party need to understand that. This we will later discuss in the process of communication cycle. So there are various kinds of different ways of communication, as we have discussed. The communication can be done by speaking, by writing, by even with the seeing the visual image or drawing something visually can be communicated also, like the posters we see on the roads, the hoardings we see on the roads, the body language, which is the uh, non-verbal video time, the non-verbal communication time. So these are the definition of communication. Communication, according to Keith Davis, is the process of passing information and understanding from one person to another. So Keith Davis explains communication as it is a process and it is passing of information. So the understanding should be between the two people, one from one person to another. So as we can see in this picture, the first person is conveying the message that this is a tree. This message has been sent to the other person. Then the other person has understood, decodified it. It has been sent the message, so it has been coded. So the way in which it has been communicated to the other person, he has also understood the same meaning, that this means tree. So he has decodified it well. So this is the understanding which needs to be developed in two persons if they are communicating. Next, M.W. Cummins says the word communication describes the process of conveying message, fact, ideas, attitudes, and opinions from one person to another so that they are understood. So the communication can be in the form of facts, in the form of ideas. It can be form in the form of attitudes or opinions. So it can be in any form, from one person to another. Whatever form is used, the other person need to understand whatever has been conveyed. So this is the communication process of conveying message. It can be conveyed through any manner, in any way. Then the next definition has been given by, according to Newman and Summer, communication is an exchange of facts, ideas, opinions, or emotions by two or more persons. So yes, it is an exchange of information, and also it should be fine and good, and it can be conveyed through emotions also, by opinions between two or more persons. This we have discussed, as earlier also it has been said that communication can be an exchange of ideas, opinions, facts, or emotions by two or more persons. So a good communication need to be made because two or more persons need to understand what they have been communicating to each other. These are the four functions of communication. The first one is information. Yes, there should be first a message, information which need to be communicated, and communication when is done, information is passed from one person to another, or one person to many person, or one to one, or one to many, or one to all. So in this way, information is generally passed. So this is one of the function of communication. Then emotional expression. Yes, through non-verbal communication, through gestures, through eyes, through voice, just by any kind of non-verbal communication, emotionally expressions can be communicated from one person to another. Then there is motivation. Yes, whatever you have communicated, the other person should be motivated to know what has been communicated. If it is not understood by the other person, it has not been decodified by the other person, that means that they will not find out what you have been communicating. Like as a teacher, when you are teaching in a class and you have given certain instructions to the students, but the students have not understood what you have said, then they lack the motivation. So you need to tell them again, paraphrase it, or tell in a simple language, or give sources or any other resources so that they can find out what you are trying to say, what instructions you are giving. So they need to get motivation to understand the certain information which you have given. Then the control. Yes, to whoever you want to communicate, you need to know, you have to control, you have to find out a way on in which you have to communicate. As a teacher, how you want to communicate, what is the medium of communication, what words will you choose to communicate in simple way, how will you communicate to the students. So this is all should be under control. So these are all four functions which are performed during the communication process. So information, as we have talked about, individual and work groups need information to make decisions or to do their work. So information is regularly given in a classroom. So this is one of the function of a teacher, that they come and give instructions, then proceed on to give information. So an information need to be interactive in a classroom. Social interaction can be done in the form of emotional expression, and in which way they can express their emotions to each other. There is one category in which given by Flanders during the observation process, during the behavior modification process, that the teacher need to accept the feelings of his students. For example, after a break, a winter break, teacher has entered the classroom, and they could ask students how they spend their break, how they have completed their work at home, how they are feeling now coming back to school. So these kind of emotional expressions can also be communicated in a classroom. Functions of communication is continuing here. Motivation means communication need to be clarified in a clear manner. So what is to be done, how well the communication has been, the work has been done, and what can have been done to improve the performance of the others. So this very well a teacher can do in a class, where they need to explain to the students that what is to be done while giving the instructions first, and how they have done it, and what can be done to improve the performance in behavior. So when we talk about the next function of the communication, that is control, that is formal and informal communications act to control individuals. It controls the communication, the talk which we are doing among the individuals. Now we will talk about the characteristics and the features of communication. It involves at least two persons. Yes, when the communication is being done, there should be a sender and a receiver. So when an information is transmitted, it should be received by someone. And if it is not received by someone, that means that information is not yet communicated. If you have sent a mail and someone has not read it, that means that mail have been communicated only on your part, but it has not been accepted by the other one. So until and unless they send a answer for that mail and response for that mail, until then the communication process is not complete, because it is whole a circular process. So the sender is called communicator and the receiver of the message is known as the communicator. A person who speaks, writes, or issues some instructions is the sender or the communicator, and the person who receives the message is the receiver or the communicator. So at least there must be at least two people who are going to interact among themselves, who are going to communicate among themselves. So in a classroom, we can say that a teacher can interact with one person, or it can interact with the whole class, or the students can interact among themselves, or can interact vice versa with the teacher. The next feature is in communication, messages is the must. So while we are sending some messages, but what is the message? There is no message and you are just communicating without any purpose. So a subject matter should be there. For example, the content of the letter, the speech which you are giving, the order which you are passing, the instructions which you are giving, the suggestions which you are giving in the class, these all are the communication messages, which is must in a communication process. So a communication must convey some message to the receivers. Communication, as we have discussed, may be written, oral, or in the form of non-verbal or gestural way. So it is generally understood as spoken or written words, but in reality, communication is much more than speaking and writing. It includes everything that may be used to convey meaning from one person to another. For example, the movement of lips, or the wink of an eye, or the wave of hands, or the stern look by the teacher to a student to stop misbehaving. These all are the communication. So these all are going side by side. They are writing on the blackboard, then they are giving a stern look at the student who is misbehaving in the class while the teacher is writing on the blackboard. So it can be done in the way of non-verbal manner or verbal manner. Communication is a two-way process. As we discussed earlier, that when a sender has sent a message, it should be understood by the receiver. If the receiver has not received it or understood it, and the receiver has not sent any reply back, that means that the process is not complete. So it involves both information and understanding. Communication is not complete unless the receiver has understood the message properly and his reaction or response is known to the sender. Then the next feature is its primary purpose is to motivate a response. So the primary purpose of communication is to motivate a response or influence human behavior. So while a message has to be conveyed, like a teacher need to convey a message in a classroom, and they want a response for that communication, for that information. So it should influence them. It should motivate them that they are able to give a response. Communication is formal or informal. So a communication can be done in an formal way or an informal way. So formal communication follows the formal channels that is provided in the organization structure. Like you are sending messages to the students through email, you are communicating with the parents through emails or the telephone calls or the WhatsApp group. So these are all formal messages which are given by you. Informal channels of communication which are not provided in the organization structure. Informally, you are just talking with the student. You have just passed on the message to one person and that person will be passing on to the other persons, or you have passed on the message to the monitor of the class and the monitor need to relay the message to the other class, to the whole class. So these channels develop among members because of personal contacts to working with each other. So there are certain things which need to be done formally, like we need to convey to the students that they have final exams on from starting from this date, and this will be the format. So it will be done with the proper notice and it should be pasted on the bulletin board. It should be sent through mails, or a written communication need to be done there. So this is a formal channel. You cannot just announce in the class and you can say that communication is done. So there are certain things which need to be conveyed formally, and there are certain things which can be done informally also. So this depends upon the channel which we decide to use. Communication flows up and down and also from side to side. It can be done from up and down, like the teacher could, the principal would convey the message to the teacher would then convey the message to the subject teacher would then convey to the representative of the class, CR of the class, and then the whole message is conveyed to the whole class. So up and down, also from side to side. If the message is spread among the class, the peer group is communicating with each other regarding any kind of work. So it flows downward from a superior to subordinate and upward from subordinate to a superior. It is an integral part of the process of exchange. It refers to the exchange of ideas, feelings, emotions, and knowledge and information between two or more persons. An effective communication, what it needs? Here we can see clarity, clarity of message. Whatever content is being conveyed, it should be clear. If it is in the form of explanation, if it is in the form of by writing down on the blackboard, if it is given in the form of worksheet, if a homework is given, if a project work is given, it all should be clear. If it is not clear, then it is not effective. Adequacy, amount of communication which is being done. If you need to tell the students that what kind of sources they can utilize while preparing for a project, this will be very helpful for them. And if you have just given a vague idea to them that you have to do that project, you have to complete that project in certain time, so that will not be adequate, actually not proper. So it will lead to ineffectiveness. Then the timing, at what time you are conveying the message. You are trying to convey the message when the bell is going to ring after the last period and it is time for the students to go home. So that is not the correct timing which you are taking to convey the message, the important message of giving homework or any kind of project work. So as a teacher, you have to see that at what time, what important message or content you have to convey to the students. Integrity, yes, you have to take care of that, the honesty in giving the message to the students while conveying the message to the fellow teachers or any other person. So integrity should be maintained. Now we will discuss about the communication and its process, how it works and its various elements. So these are the various elements of the communication process, and there is a source. Source is the person who is sending the message. He's sending the message. He has encoded it in the form of oral, written, or non-verbal gestures. Then the message, then a channel is selected, how the message will be given, orally, in written form, through email, through WhatsApp, in what manner. Then the message is decoded by the receiver. The process is done, and after that, the receiver, if it is asked, then he will give the feedback to the source, to the sender. So this is how the communication process will work. And this is how an effective communication can be done, by sending the message directly to receiver, and he is able to decode it properly in a clear manner. So clarity of message is very necessary. This is how a teacher is standing in the class, or a student is giving any kind of presentation in the class. So the oral medium, or the PPT, through PPT or any other kind of teaching aid he is using, this is the channel. And through the channel, the message is being given to the receivers. And if you ask any question, the receivers will respond back. And if you ask them to clear any doubts from you, then also they will give feedback. So the regular channel in a classroom is done like this. Communication process goes on like this. They have to continuously give feedback, and only then the source, the sender of the message, the teacher, will continuously go on giving messages to the receivers. The sender, the mobile phone is the medium. Through mobile phone, receiver has received the message. So a simple message is being given. Movie starts at 9. Can you drive us? The receiver has given the message in feedback. Yay, be there by 8:30. So the feedback has been given. If the feedback has not been given, how the sender knows that the receiver will be receiving them and driving them to the movie? So the movie will be starting by 9, and if they do not reach there at time, they will not be able to watch that movie. So this is how, with simple example, we can understand the elements of the communication process. So the sender or encoder is a person who sends the message. A sender makes use of symbols, words, or graphic or visual aids to convey the message, like you make use of various kinds of emoticons in your WhatsApp messages, and produce the required response. So this is the purpose of the sender, that they get back the reply from the receiver. Then there is the message. Message is a key idea that the sender wants to communicate. It is a sign that elicits the response of recipient. Communication process begins with deciding about the message to be conveyed, and it must be ensured that the main objective of the message is clear. Then encoding is the process where the information you would like to communicate gets transferred into a form to be sent and decoded by the receiver. Channel is the way you convey your message. These channels include verbal, such as telephone, face-to-face conversations, non-verbal, such as email or text messaging. So each individual channel has its strengths and weaknesses in terms of communicating. For instance, written medium is chosen when a message has to be conveyed to a small group of people, while an oral medium can be chosen when spontaneous feedback is required from the recipient, as all kind of misunderstandings can be cleared at that time, then and there. These are the classification of the channels of communication. The visual channel, this can be done through facial expression, body language, posture, gestures, pictures and written words, electronic mails, mass media, etc. Then there are auditory channel, that is spoken words, sounds, telephone or mobile communications, delivering audio content through radio or voicemail, etc. Then there is tactile channel, which is related to touch sensations or therapeutic touch. Then there's combined channel, combination of audio-visual media, or through touching and speaking of words. Then the next element is decoding, and it is on the receiving end of communication. It is done by the receiver. So this stage is just as important as encoding, because if the receiver is not able to decode what has been encoded by the sender, then it will be ineffective. So communication can go downhill at this stage if the receiver is not practicing active listening skills, or if they do not possess enough information to accurately decode the message. So this is very important. We have to teach our students that how to decode the message given by a teacher or their instructor. Receiver. Receiver is a person for whom the message intended or aimed. The degree to which the decoder understands the message is dependent upon various factors, such as knowledge of recipient, their responsiveness to the message, and the reliance of encoder on decoder. Feedback is the main component of communication process, as it permits the sender to analyze the efficacy of the message. It helps the sender in confirming the correct interpretation of message by the decoder. Feedback may be verbal through words or non-verbal in form of smiles or any kind of stern looks or nodding of your head or saying uh-huh. So it may take written form also in forms of memos, reports, etc. So this is the last element of the communication, and based on this only, a teacher can say that a communication has been done effectively in my classroom. There are certain principles of communication which need to be followed by the teacher when they are teaching in the classroom, and these are principle of clarity. This we have discussed, that the message transmitted should be in easy language, simple manner, and understandable language, so that the receiver may understand the idea in the same spirit and sense in which it is communicated by the sender. So for this purpose, the idea to be conveyed must be clear in the minds of communicator. So if there is any kind of confusion in the mind of communicator or the sender, the clear message will not reach to the receivers. So this is why the principle of clarity is the first principle which needs to be considered while communicating any message. Then there is principle of attention. So communication requires that the receiver of message should understand the message. So for this, attention is required. In a class, if a teacher is saying something and the receivers are not paying attention, so at that time, they will not understand what the teacher has been saying. Maybe there is a noise nearby, or there is some function going on, or there is a noise going on in your class. There is an indiscipline going on in your class, or you have chosen a wrong time to communicate an important message. So it is possible only when the recipient pays attention to the message being communicated. They should know, they should be taught that if you are being given any message by the teacher, this is very important. You have to be attentive in receiving that. For this, sender should arouse the interest of the receiver so that the receiver pays proper attention. And for this, we have discussed classroom management is very much necessary. So you need to manage your classroom in such a way that the receivers pay attention to every word which you say. And if you are going to say anything, you have to prepare a classroom atmosphere for that. So you need to take in consideration the principle of attention, how to grasp the attention of your students, of your receivers. Then the next principle is principle of consistency. This principle implies that communication should always be consistent with the plan, objectives, policies, and programs of the institution. Or in the case of the class, it should be consistent. They should not be mutual conflicting. Inconsistent messages always create chaos and confusion in the classroom, and which is highly detrimental to the interest of the institution or the classroom. So it should be consistent. Whatever you want to say, it should be clear in your mind first, then you will communicate that to the receiver. Principle of adequacy. This principle demands that the information being sent should be adequate and complete in all aspects or respects. Incomplete or inadequate information are more dangerous rather to give no communication. So inadequate information delays actions. Whatever you are expecting, it will not be done in the time, and destroys understanding and the relations which has been maintained by you and the receiver. So efficiency of both communicator and communicatee is also affected. So a teacher should plan well in advance what they want to communicate in the class, how they want to communicate, and how they want their receivers, the learners, to communicate back or give feedback. So it is quite adequate. While, for example, you are telling them to prepare a project and you have not told them that what kind of a topic could be selected, how it could be selected, what is the process of selection of the topic, and what will be the sources, what will be the procedure, how will they go through. So this will be inadequate information, and the communicatee will be affected, and they will not be able to do it in a proper manner in the certain criteria which you have expected. Then there is principle of integration. So the main objective of effective communication is to integrate the effort to make the organization strengthen by achieving the common objectives of the organization. So communication is a means to an end. It is a means through which the message is being forwarded. In the end, it will be received by the receiver. But it is not an end in itself. It is means only. So it should be geared towards achieving a genuine spirit of cooperativeness among the teachers and students towards achieving the objectives. So this is very important. If teachers can address one student or the whole classroom, it can be done through verbal communication. For example, a teacher may ask a student to stand up, which is verbal communication. So it should be based on the cooperativeness and integration form of effective communication should be done. And the teachers and students both need to move forward for the achieving of that objective. Principle of timeliness. So the information or ideas must be conveyed at the proper time, as we have discussed, that if you are telling them to prepare a project, or you are discussing the way to prepare a project at an time when there is a time to go home, the bell has rung, that is the wrong time you have selected. Any delay in this respect will serve no purpose except to make them mere historical documents, as it loses its importance and effectiveness. So this is very important. And this can be done only when a proper planning is being done by the teacher. And with experience, the teachers learn that at what time, what message should be conveyed and how it should be conveyed, and how the principle of attention will also be used at that time. Principle of informality. Formal communication channels are very important and useful to the classroom, but informal communication also plays a dominant role in spreading information. So this we have discussed what kind of formal and informal channels a teacher can use in a class or while conveying a communication to parents or the students. Principle of feedback. This is the most important principle of an effective communication system. The communicator must have feedback confirmation from the recipient whether the messages have been understood by the recipient in the same sense in which the sender has sent, and also whether the recipient is agreed or disagreed to the proposal of the sender. I mean, if they have any confusion, they can ask. So this is the feedback in a classroom situation. If a teacher has asked whether you know how to make a blueprint, the students, the teacher trainees will, some will say yes, they know, some will say they have not understood yet, some will say they were not present in the class at that time. This is the feedback they have got in the response of the communication, because maybe at in the coming times the teacher wants to get a presentation on the blueprint, but most of the students have given feedback that they don't know what is blueprint and how is it prepared. So in case of oral communications, there exist a number of opportunities to secure feedback in comparison to written communication. Communication networks. Communication networks refers to the routes through which the communication flows to the destination person for whom it is intended. If you frame a email to be sent to a certain student who is not regular in the class. So you will send the communication on his email ID only. You will not send the email to the whole organization or the whole students of the class. So the network need to be chosen correctly while communicating, and the destination person should be right for whom it is intended. Then only you can get the response what you want to get. Principle of economy. The communication system must be as economical as possible, but not at the cost of the efficiency of the system. The cost of communication of any message should always be considered, keeping the importance of message in the mind. So if you want to take an action, disciplinary action regarding a student, you need to consider what kind of method or channel you need to proceed with. So you need to keep in mind the importance of the message. However, the clarity, adequacy, and timeliness, it should not be sacrificed just to achieve the economy. Just to save your time, you are just conveying the message that disciplinary action will be taken against you through the monitor of the class. So it's better that in this, if you understand the importance of this message to be given by the teacher only, so you should do that. So this is how we discussed today the importance of communication, the classroom communication, which is very important to be done by the teacher. And for this, effective classroom management should be done by the teacher. And in this manner, both teachers and students complete the process of communication, and they know that if there is no feedback given back by the respondents, the communication message which has been framed by the teacher is useless, is ineffective. So they have to learn that how to make their communication effective, and doing away with all the barriers which are coming in the way of the promoting the message to the learners. So these are the references on which you can go and find out more about the communication and its process. Now let's move on to the next section, that is the evaluation questions. Question number 1 is, dash means communication without words. So this we have discussed that the communication can be done in various ways. It can be done with words or without words. And if it is done without words, what will it be named as? The options are object communication, written communication, oral communication, or non-verbal communication. So the correct answer is non-verbal communication. Along with, in a classroom, along with the verbal communication, the non-verbal communication goes on. When a teacher takes a pause, when a teacher makes an eye contact with certain person, or with the movement of their hands, they ask them to sit down, they ask them to stand up, or by the nodding of the head, they say that they agree with anything, or by doing this, they say that they convey that they are not agreeing with that thing. So in this way, non-verbal communication is a part of our classroom communication. This is done without words. Next question is, the person who transmits the message is called, the person who sends the message is called. Options are channel, sender, receiver, or response. And the correct answer is the sender. Sender, or the source of origin, who is transmitting the message, who is the origin of the message, who is the source of the message, who will transmit the message to the receiver. So he is known as the sender or the communicator. Question number 3 is, at each stage in the process of communication, there is a possibility of interference which may hinder the process. And such interference is known as, yes, there may be some certain interferences in between, and they have been given certain name in the communication process. The options are sender, no; receiver, no, he is not an interference; C, barrier; or D, none of them. Yes, the interference is known as the barrier, which interferes between the effective communication, if it's the process is going on smoothly, the barriers, various kinds of barriers can be there, psychological, philosophical, language problems, language barrier, any kind of barrier can be there. There may be noise pollution, any kind of barrier. So this is the interference. The answer is C, barrier. Question number 4 is A dash connects the sender to the receiver. When a sender is sending a message, how it is connected with the receiver? The options are channel, noise, communication, or feedback. And the correct answer is channel, the medium through which you want to send the message to the receiver. A teacher needs to choose a medium, whether they want to send a message through a verbal way, in oral way, in written way, or in non-written way, non-verbal way. So this is the channel which you have to select according to the importance of the message, of the content. Next question is, the dash in the usage of words may be a serious barrier to effective communication. The options are disturbance, discrimination, disorder, or distortion. So if we are using irrelevant words, the language which we are using is not understood to the level of the mental level of the students, this will create a serious barrier to the communication. So the correct answer is distortion. If there is any kind of distortion in the usage of words by the teachers while giving message to the students, it will lead to an ineffective communication. So for this, very easy and simple message language should be used by the teacher so that effective communication can be carried out. Question number 6 is, most of us use dash and dash in addition to words when we speak. So the options are words and gestures, gestures and body language and posture, posture and eye gazing. So most of us, what do we do? As a teacher also, you will experience that you will take verbal and non-verbal conditions simultaneously. So the answer is gestures and body language, and it goes on along with your verbal posture. When you are speaking, when you are explaining something, your hands will go on like this. You will make use of certain nodding movements or kind of non-verbal gestures. You will go to the student and you will show the proximity. So in this way, you will sometimes tap on the shoulder of the student for giving, you will clap sometimes. So in this way, you may use any kind of gestures and body language when we speak. Question number 7 is, the classroom communication should essentially be, options are contrite, empathetic, abstract, or non-descriptive. And the option is B, empathetic. The classroom communication should essentially be empathetic. That means that you should place yourself in the place of learners. You should be able to understand what the receiver is not going to understand and what they are going to receive easily. So you need to be in their shoes every time. You have to be learner oriented every time. The next question is, identify the important element a teacher has to take cognizance of while addressing students in a classroom. Options are avoidance of proximity, voice modulation, repetitive pause, or fixed posture. So these all are well important in their own way, but voice modulation is very much important. And it is the thing which is one of the element and component of stimulus variation micro teaching skill, in which if your voice is going up and down, stressing importance on certain words according to the content, that will bring attention of the students on your message in your communication, and it will become effective. Okay, so the next question is, the term grapevine is also known as. Grapevine is an informal kind of term, and the options are downward communication, informal communication, upward communication, or horizontal communication. This is much more, we can say, related to the gossip word, and the option is informal communication. So when we were talking about the various patterns of communication, that is formal and informal communication, so grapevine is a kind of an informal communication in which the gossip is flows down with the in an informal way to the people which you do not intend to send the message to. And the last question is, the students are dash of the teacher's message in classroom. The option are encoders, agitators, propagators, or decoders. So the option, the correct answer is encoders, because students are the receivers in a classroom. Sorry, decoders. D. So the teachers are the encoders. They encode the message and it is decoded by the learner. So this is how students are the decoders of the message. And with this, we come to the end of the class today. Thank you very much. And I hope you will try to be an effective communicator in your classroom. You will go through various strategies through which effective communication can be carried out in your classroom. So with this, we end this class, and we will see you in next class.